Happy International Women's Day.
Happy.
Happy, look at that happy face. Well, every year we sit here as the month of March approaches and we think, what are we going to do this year? We're a female-founded business. We believe in empowered women and empowering women. We do so all day, every day. And each year, I think we come up with the same conundrum. Is it a good thing to be talking about a singular day? Is it reductive? Is it performative? Or is it meaningful, and can it bring more power and more noise to a really important topic?
Exactly.
What are you thinking this year, Em?
Oh, the same conundrum again. But the thing I really grapple with is you have the very serious UN initiative around International Women's Day, which gives you lots of facts and information about usually the lack of progress on anything to do with gender parity. It also gives you a lot of tools and resources, and every year has a very serious theme, which is around where the world is on this issue. Then you have the corporate International Women's Day, or IWD 2025, hashtag, which runs a very effective, very, viral campaign every single year, but without any real clear action or any real foundation for change. And that's the thing that's problematic. So you have these two sort of competing things which don't necessarily work together. You also have a very sort of performative, strange campaign angle every year. So we had the embracing equity, everyone give yourself a hug for International Women's Day. This year it is put your guns up, which, okay.
Well, she's got some.
Got some guns. And accelerate action.
Accelerate action.
So we like the message, right?
Do we?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, it's better than embrace equality. Accelerate action, for me, brilliant. You're talking about go faster on actual, real, meaningful change. That's great. But I'm not sure what flashing my guns actually has to do with accelerating action. It catches on. People do it. Businesses do it.
Yeah, but does it catch on for the right reasons? This is what annoys me so much about it. Like, I only care about International Women's Day if what you are saying is fundamentally different to what you said last year. And what you are saying today is fundamentally different to what you will say next year. Because the problem with, you say it's highly campaignable or whatever, it's just a hashtag and a moral obligation. And what that means is every company in the world ever ends up posting with this lame hashtag again, maybe even getting their guns out, God forbid. And
it's for men too as well. Men can also flex for accelerating action for women.
No, of course, I could never sit here and say, I don't believe in the concept of accelerating action for women. Of course I do. I spend every day trying to accelerate action for women and others. The thing that really annoys me about it is there's no, this isn't smart campaigning. This isn't good marketing. This is a corporate agenda with a hashtag. And at its worst, it's performative and reductive. At its best, it's awareness building.
It's slacktivism. Is what it is.
Slacktivism. I love that.
It's a way of saying, I care, I got involved, it was low barrier to entry, it didn't cost me anything as a business, and that is the problem with it. However, I think the UN could learn something from the fact that there is this moment, there is this slight catalyst where everyone jumps on the bandwagon. So what I want to see is whether it's the corporate machine doing it or whether it's the UN, I want to see that viral energy and that enthusiasm at a key moment turned into some sort of commitment.
But then I think you need to give it to the marketing industry and agencies to do something with.
Agreed.
Because there's a reason why This Girl Can was some of the most incredible content in this space that we've seen over the last 10, 20 years, because it was incredible creative with real women, real stories that everybody could see a part of them in. Nobody can see a part of them doing this with accelerate action as the hashtag. That's not content that you can genuinely connect to as a woman.
Yeah. Well, I think we also know that if you're trying to drive change, creativity is important.
Correct.
We know that having a message people can see a part of themselves in, people can get behind, is really important. So that's powerful.
But someone was paying for This Girl Can. That's why it was an incredible out-of-home on the billboards. That's why we saw it all over our social. That's why we saw incredible celebrities getting behind it. No one's paying for the slacktivism behind International Women's Day.
Well, and there was also an insight, presumably,
correct,
that people have a barrier to entry when
Yeah.
it comes to sport or
Yeah.
whatever. So you have to start with an insight, think about what would change that human behavior, and then tap into a creative opportunity to
Yeah.
actually change behavior
Yeah.
with a desired outcome instead of just awareness.
Does anyone actually want the behaviour to change?
I doubt
Does it? Or is this just part of the system just to keep women exactly where we should be? Because for me, if you aren't shifting the power structure within your organisation and actually creating change rather than just shining light on the same old success stories, if you're not paying women for the invisible labour they do in your business for culture, inclusion, and well-being, if you're not doing these things, then you don't have a podium to get on International Women's Day. All you're doing is telling women to lean in harder and be empowered without changing the process and system that is holding them back in the first place.
I absolutely agree with that. And that's the other reason. So just to pivot slightly, that's another reason that the recent Nike campaign bothered me so much. So did you see the "you can't win, so win"?
Yeah.
It's sort of celebrating success against the odds again, instead of saying, do you know what? Maybe we should change those odds.
Yeah.
Maybe we should make it easier for people to win.
Do you need to accept the race that you're in?
Maybe.
Because maybe we're tired of constantly trying to win a race that we're rigged to lose.
Yeah. I think a lot of women I know, I had a real split on my WhatsApp group. Some people were like, you can't win, so win. It's so empowering. And, it's absolutely what we have to do as women. We have to succeed against the odds. And the other half of my female friendship group were just like, nah, we're going to get off that treadmill. We're tired. We're tired. And why should we have to win against the odds? And I think there's a little bit of that in all the empowerment messages around International Women's Day, right? It's like, okay, let's accelerate action. Let's embrace equity. Let's, empower you. It's like, yeah, great. Okay. But actually change the system.
And at whose cost? Because that sounds tiring. And I think the real issue with so many of these things and the female lens is only one lens that we're looking through today, but it's the same can be said across the board, which is if the burden of empowerment is on the person who is unempowered, all you are doing is further unempowering them.
Yeah.
And giving them more problems and more things to have to work through. The focus of this conversation and the focus of International Women's Day needs to not be about flexing muscles. It needs to be about changing the systems.
Yeah.
And so often it's not, because that bit's the hard bit. It's much easier just to clap or hug or flex your bloody guns. It's much easier to do that and to pop that on your socials than it is to actually change anything important or meaningful.
Yeah. So in conclusion, will we be flexing our muscles on International Women's Day?
We flex our muscles every day.
I agree.
Okay, well, we've got strong views on it, but what would you advise a client?
Well, apart from talking about the actual accelerated action you are taking, which we all know a lot of companies will not bother to do this year, what I would love to see is, instead of the same old stories about, a woman getting promoted or succeeding, I would love to hear more specifically what the company did to facilitate that, why that specific environment allowed her to thrive. Because I think we're very good at heroing women. We're very good at showing the sort of one-off examples of the person that survived, the corporate machine against the odds. What I'd love to see is how the system set her up for that success. I think that would make much more interesting content so that other businesses can learn. Because
what we're getting from that is input, not just the output.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to say, look at all these female success stories. Look, we've got a woman director.
Yeah.
How did she get there? What can other women take from that? What can other businesses take from that? Moreover, because it's not just about inspiring women to go harder or to win, even when they can't win. It's actually about asking them to push for that change within their organization because they've seen it work somewhere else, or asking for organizations to see that and go, actually, we could be doing our women a better service if we had that kind of structural support in place.
What's the most effective thing you've ever done as a woman in the workplace to succeed?
Well, one thing I will say, and this is a subtopic, is one of the things I would love to see women let go of this year for International Women's Day 2025 is every time a woman is asked about imposter syndrome, I want her to just say,
yawn.
I don't have that. Why are you asking me? Why would you assume that I have any sense of insecurity about how I've achieved the things I've achieved? Why would you make the assumption that because I'm a woman, I have some concern that I don't belong here? It's worked bloody hard to get to where I'm getting. And I've seen, a couple of pushback videos recently from high-profile women talking about this. I'm just so tired of the topic. I refuse to speak on a panel about imposter syndrome unless it's to say that. I refuse to go to an event that's like how to overcome imposter syndrome. It's conditioning. It's like another patriarchal conditioning to say, you should feel like you don't belong here and you need to overcome that. And the problem sits with you, not the organization. So I want that to just be gone in 2025.
Preach. I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. And when I have found myself saying anything along the lines of what you've just put out there, I've ended up feeling like I sound arrogant.
Yeah.
Which is so part of the conditioning that I feel arrogant for saying that I feel like I belong in the room.
What? You feel like you belong in the room? This room?
Like, how wild is that?
So wild.
So wild.
Okay. So in summary, International Women's Day, we support it in theory if you're taking action. Otherwise, we don't want to know. Feel free to flex your guns, but know that we see you and we see that it's performative and we'd much rather hear what you're doing as an organization. And if you're sharing success stories from women, we would much rather hear about how your organization has helped those women to get to where they're getting.
And then we will take your cupcake.